New video time. Guys, I am Yard Offside FM, and it is very nice to see you again. This is episode 9 of The Triumph, my Football Manager 2017 Let's Play series, as Hell's Teeth FC in the Tuvaluan A Division. Guys, we are back a little bit early for this next episode in The Triumph, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that with the Christmas holidays coming up, I want to get a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of making videos. I may not have time to record every day, so I want to get ahead of that 8 ball. And also, we are a little bit of a crisis club at the moment. You'll remember that we lost to Lacania United in our last match. It was a 1-2 result, disappointing, but as I said repeatedly throughout the game, not the end of the world. Well, if we thought that was bad, that was nothing compared to our absolute demolition at the hands of defending A Division champions Tofaga. 4-0 was the final result, and we were not only defeated, but comprehensively defeated. We looked by far the worst team. As you can see here, looking at the match ratings for our players, we have a few people at 6.7 and 6.6, a couple substitutes at 6.7, but other than that, most of our players were well below 6.5, a lot of people at 6.2, 6.3. This was a disaster, by far the worst match that we have had to witness in this series thus far, by far the worst defeat that I have suffered as manager of the Orange Demons here. And I just wanted to take you guys a little bit through the match analysis here, just to see, we need to do a postmortem and find out what's wrong, what went wrong. So, I mean, not to take anything away from Tofaga, because looking at their individual performances, you had a lot of players who played really well. You know, look, a lot of green in that summary column there. For Tofaga. Let's have a look at the heat maps here. This is worrying to see. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's good to see that we had a little bit of advanced sort of position. That's always something what we want, but normally when we play really well, there's a big red blotch here displaying that we had a lot of possession in a lot of varied places, a lot of good movement in attacking positions in the field, and these sort of isolated red blotches here, for me, that makes me concerned that there wasn't a lot of good movement from our players. Guys were remaining very stationary, and a lot of the same action was happening in the same parts of the field, and Tofaga managed to limit our chances in that way. As for them, this is always something that's concerning. When we lose, we tend to see red blotches over here on the wings, and it means that they are splitting us apart and cutting in into the gaps where normally most teams would have fullbacks, which of course in our 3-man defensive systems we don't have. And I'm not sure that I want to move away from the 3-man back line at the moment, especially given that the 4-3-2-1 that we experimented with in the preseason friendlies was so poor. But that is something that we may have to consider doing if the last 2 results turn into a multiple game slide. As for these individual things, we don't need to dwell on them for too long, but unsurprising to see that Tofaga had far more shots than we did, and a lot of them in very central positions, as you can see. Not good to see. Wow, look at that. So I knew that they had crossed pretty successfully in this game, but to see how many of these arrows are green, that means a completed cross, and for me, that really means that we had a lot of aerial challenges that we lost out on in the defensive third. I know they scored from a couple of chances that they created from crossing balls in. I mean, only 3, but a lot of these resulted in sort of, I guess, sort of ping pong happening in our box, and you know, the ball just being slotted away because Tapase couldn't react in time. And it looks like defensively they headed very well as well. You see this big, huge red wall, or not red, blue wall here. I can't keep my colors straight. I should probably have paid more attention in first grade. But yeah, they headed very well in this match. They were, I think, physically the much better team, and that's not good to see. Outdid us completely in terms of scoring chances. Let's see here, 3 clear-cut chances, 3 half chances, and most of them in or around the 6-yard box, so very close, whereas we had 2 half chances, both from very tight angles. So by far the worst team in this match here against Tofaga, and we need to react very, very, very decisively here against Luamotu, or otherwise we are looking at our hopes for the title dwindling away in the very early stages of this A Division campaign. As I say, Luamotu are opponents on the day, and one of the reasons that I wanted to do this episode so quickly is because I'm honestly very concerned that we're going to lose this match. Luamotu, not a great side last season, but they have made some pretty decent signings, and that's something that concerns me. This is a team that I think is going to be very much improved from where they were last season. Media prediction 8th. I think that's a little harsh. They should be in the top half as far as I'm concerned. And if we do lose this game, we'll be let's have a look at the table, actually. I mean, we are currently stranded at the bottom of the table. We are the only team without a point. If we lose this one, we are going to be well adrift with a lot of work to do. Our board expects us to finish in the top half, and if we don't start getting results now, even that could be something called into question here. Let's see. What do I want to talk about next? Oh, I actually forgot to mention in the last episode, guys, and that's another thing that I wanted to address. We had I mentioned the number of players that we brought in, some of the understated signings that we've made, and perhaps in retrospect we should have made more high-profile ones. Whoops. But I forgot to talk about the players that left. These guys all left on free transfers, mostly sort of players on the outside looking in. I actually had hoped to keep a lot of these guys in the team. However, as I mentioned in the very first episode of this series, guys, the league rules that I've set for the A Division are pretty restrictive. There's a squad size limit of 22 players, very, very, very draconian. And so there's a lot of players who you can keep in your first team and use them in the cups, but you can't use them in the A Division. And so basically these were the players who I wasn't able to register. Their morale dropped. There were a number of players who I didn't register, and their morale remained okay. I think we can see them over here. You can see a few there: Mealma, Moeaga, Paitela, Fakatuafe, etc., etc. Their morale did not drop, so I said, all right, well, if you're happy to not be registered, then we'll keep you at the club. But these guys, the morale all went to abysmal, and so I tried to convince them to stay. I tried to tell them, hey, we need you for our cup matches. None of them were having it, so I said, all right, fine, I'll agree to your demands and let you go on a free. Yeah, not too many people of much consequence. Y'all probably saw Etimani, the two Etis, play a few times. Probably the biggest ones are Talmafai Tinilau, who spent a lot of the last season in the starting 11 just because we didn't have a good right midfield option. And Talavalu Katagali, who was really kind of a super sub striker, came on. He only made 6 appearances, I believe, last season. It's probably not going to show here. Will we have his history, career stats? 8 appearances, correction, and 1 goal and 1 assist. So, he was okay, but as 6.92 rating, that's not something that he's going to be terribly missed. Not hugely concerning. Another worry at the club, guys, is that our overall balance, it was growing a lot throughout last season, and now it's kind of leveled out. And there are a few reasons for that. It's not something to be terribly concerned about. I think our form is much more concerning. But the big thing is that after those sponsorships in January went down, I suppose you could say. Basically, they only come at one time of the year. You get paid in a lump sum just, right in January. Looks like we got one in the middle of July as well. I think that was our main kit sponsorship, which was re-upped in January. We've had no income, essentially. A lot of that is because we haven't had any gate receipts yet, and I'm sure that will go back up, but there's definitely a lot more expenditure happening at the club. For example, the tax bill that I mentioned in the last episode. And we also have been seeing an increasing salary cost. This has gone up from, I think in January, it was around like $8 per season, or I'm sorry, £8 per season. Yay, American, getting the terms wrong. And now it's up to £30. And I believe this is because of the junior coaching being increased. They told me that the budget would steadily increase for the junior coaching budget, and I believe this must be the junior coaching staff who are being paid more as a consequence of moving up to basic junior coaching. So, it's not the end of the world. We are still projected to increase our balance steadily over time, but it's gone down from where it was at the end of the 2019 season. We are now projected to have an overall balance of 133,000 quid. So that's, it's again not the end of the world, but it's a little bit of a maybe caution sign at the end of the road here, that things may not be as wondrous as we had initially hoped that they might be. We have had a few other concerning things happen in terms of player development. For the most part, players are developing okay. For example, Olalofa you're seeing we're seeing some progress for him. Let's bring up his training notes here. Aside from his determination, which is steadily dropping, I mentioned that was an issue squad-wide in the last episode. He's had a little bit of upward progress, although you're not really seeing it here. It's been very subtle upward progress. We have, however, had some players dramatically declining, and that's very concerning. For example, our starting midfielder alongside Tofaga Pearson, Katepu Fakasega has declined a fair bit. Wow, that is a little bit more dramatic than I had anticipated. His acceleration is going absolutely into the toilet. He's really, really declined in terms of where we thought he would be when we signed him almost 1 year ago. Tofaga Jr. has also gone down a little bit, and that's quite concerning as he's only 24, should be at least holding steady. His strength has gone up, and that's good because that's a relatively important attribute for a defender, but you can see here a lot of these lines kind of on the steady decline, and this may be a bad sign. Perhaps I need to, change his training focus, maybe work him a little less hard in training, or may have him work even harder in training, I'm not sure. But there are worrying signs here. Finally, the only one thing I want to talk about before we get into this Luamotu game is the OFC Champions League. We talked about it in the last episode. All of the Tuvaluan clubs are out, but the semifinal stage has occurred. Both of the New Zealander teams have gone through. Team Wellington defeated AS Roniu, who I believe are of Tahiti, correct? And a New Caledonian club, AS Magenta, has been defeated by Auckland City. Neither of these two teams, Roniu and Magenta, played particularly poorly, but as you would expect, New Zealand, very much the class of the oceanic continent, so to speak, by far, and so it's kind of unsurprising to see Team Wellington and Auckland City in the final here. It'll really be a challenge once we get to the OFC Champions League, because it's going to be out of the frying pan into the fire, because these teams in New Zealand are so far ahead of everyone else in Oceania. So that'll be the big obstacle for us in terms of achieving the triumph that gives this series its name. So yes, Luamotu in today's episode. You all probably remember we had that notorious 4-4 result. We were up 4-1 against Luamotu. They came back and snatched a draw from us. And in retrospect, if we had won a result like that, if we had collected a result like that, we might have finished second or even higher, and possibly been in the OFC Champions League ourselves this season. But we dropped too many points, and we finished third, and we are where we are. So as you can see here, Luamotu, despite foiling us in that match last season, in the two matches that we've played, the two league matches that we played against them last season, they've never beaten us. I mentioned that before we played Lekeni United, that they had never beaten us, and of course they went and got their first victory over us. So of course I probably jinxed it, and we are probably going to lose to the Wolves in spectacular fashion today. How many tickets have we sold? 535 tickets. So gone down a little bit from that season opener against Lekeni United, but not by much. Still a pretty decent crowd, and it looks like the fans are staying loyal to the club despite our recent struggles. Let's have a look at our team, which I've already sorted out. Tapase will keep his place. Really, this is more or less the same team that took on Tofaga in the last match, with one change here. Tui came in. Masolia Eti played in the Tofaga match. He was atrocious, so we're going to bring in Tui, who's also not in great form, as you can see, but he can't be any worse than Eti was. Alasana and Tofaga will stay in the team. Tui, as I mentioned, comes in at center back. Then we have Aliu, Pearson, Fakasega, and Stanley. I mentioned him in the last episode. Doesn't seem to play well. The fans hate him, but there's something about him, largely in his attributes, that makes me think maybe he has some promise and he's worth hanging on to. And of course, Lapayo, Tamafai Tui, and Smaya Moeaga in our strike force. Have I sorted out my substitutes? We've got a couple striking options, 3 striking options really. Ale is kind of an attacking midfielder. Pataya and Filioma can play in defense. That'll do. So let's get into the match here. Good to see our match sharpness is improving a little bit, as I've only been notified about 3 or 4 players that are in bad shape. We are the favorites by far over Luamotu here, as you can see. The press are backing us as well, but as you saw in that Lacania United game, being backed by the press, it didn't mean much. All right, so we do have a tunnel selection here. Tunnel selection. That's not even a sentence. Those words are completely unrelated to one another. We have a tunnel interview here. The Tuvaluan Football Post is asking us, our team selection has offered very little by way of surprises today. Are you confident ahead of kickoff? No, not at all. But I don't think I should say that to the press, I reckon. I think maybe I should back my team a little bit more. We don't need to cast doubt over our players here. Let's go with, I would make a slight favorite. Okay. Just want to, I don't want the players to get too demoralized, because after that Tofaga result, their morale was universally horrible. Luamotu, we've gone past that screen now, but they're lining up in a 4-4-2, can often be a dangerous formation against the Orange Demons, something that we may have to be concerned about. My assistant's telling me to tell them to put on a better performance, and I think that's not a bad idea. Should I give show the world what this team is about talk, though? I like the idea of that. That's not always an option, but I think it shows up when the media is kind of giving your team a hard time. All right. Tell the players that I believe they have what it takes as usual. Hopefully they'll be motivated and happy. And then we have some overall... Well, you'd like to see more than just 5 players in the green, but we'll take what we can get, huh? All right. I haven't checked whether I have the sound on. I should do that. I did have it off. And we've kicked things off here. This is the kickoff highlight, so it's very likely going to come to nothing. I almost don't even want to bother talking about it. And, of course, having said that, they've whipped a cross in, and now they've won a very early corner here. Pearson will clear that away, however, and this is likely to be the end of the highlight. Actually, Pearson appears to have crossed that into his own box. Tapakau Jr. Comes good for us. And perhaps we have a highlight here. Moeaga on the wing. Crosses that in for Lapayo. Oh, that's a great chance. Just snatched at it, and it screamed over the bar, but we need more of that, please, fellas. Stanley wins that header, but it looks like Luamotu will collect possession. Tui cuts that out. That's a good header. That's what we like to see from that stopper roll. Aliu, that's a woeful ball intended for Moeaga. Tapase will get to this. Luamotu have a lot of players back. Look at that. I think it looks like they have a 6-man back line. Appears that they are very much anticipating our attacking threat. And we may need to move over to the more attacking Awendo to break them down. We'll wait till later in the match to do that. That's a deflected ball. Lapayo may get to this. He does not, but it looks like we're going to have a throw-in. Nothing from that highlight. And this has Luamotu victory written all over it so far. I'm being too cynical. We can do it. Come on, boys. Moeaga holds up play, gives it back to Fakasega. Now Stanley. Stanley cuts inside, finds Pearson. Fakasega. This is a good passing move here. Come on, boys. Tui. Pearson. Lapayo. Tui. Moeaga. Oh, he was running into a channel, but it was cut out well by the Luamotu defense. Lapayo over to Tui. Tui finds Pearson. Lapayo. Lapayo, have a pop. Well, we still have possession. Moeaga lays it off for Tui, who misses pretty badly. Normally, Tui is reliable to get a shot on target. Pearson will end the threat from Luamotu at the other end, and Moeaga holds the ball up. He finds Tui, who has a bit of space, lays it off for Pearson. Aliu, I should say. Fakasega. Lapayo, Tui, Lapayo. Good passing here. Pearson. Pearson has a shot from way out, but he put that pretty close to that post. Only missed by a foot or so. Good to see. Pearson really not a goal-scoring threat, but I'll take it if he's going to offer it. Moeaga playing pretty well today, despite not really fashioning any chances for himself. He's holding up the play well, and I'm sure we're dominating possession. Fakasega, Stanley. Fakasega should find Tui ahead of him. He does. Aliu across for Moeaga. Oh, how has he missed that? Oh, that's a beautiful opportunity for Samaya Moeaga to get a goal for himself and put us out in front here, but he's missed it. Tui, Moeaga once again. Moeaga, who was that for? Aliu, Tui. We still have possession here. Pearson, Lapayo, Moeaga should find Tui, but he takes a shot himself. Looked like Tui was going to run to Moeaga's left, and I think that would have been his best opportunity. Instead, he shot on his own. It's been easily saved. Luamotu have a chance here. They cross it in. Will they have one shot, one goal? Looks like that has been clawed away by Tapase, or maybe it hit the post. At any rate, it has not gone in the back of the net, and we can breathe a sigh of relief here. Pearson may pick up a yellow card here from that tackle. Looked like it was a tackle from behind, and it's a let-off from the referee. As always, lenient in Tuvalu. Looks like temporarily, at least, Tofaga Jr. deals with that. He's playing much better than he did in the previous match, which is excellent to see. Stanley, oh boy. Stanley involved in a little bit of a scrum, and instead of just clearing the ball out, he tried to play it, lost possession, crossed in, and Luamotu are in front. Crisis club mode begins. It wasn't even that good of a cross. That's the irritating thing. It was just sort of an optimistic low ball hoofed in that wasn't dealt with. It's just... I mean, we are going to have to switch over to the Owendo here. Because there's no... Oh, Tui maybe had a chance there. First touch didn't put the ball far enough ahead of him, and he's missed that chance as well. As I say, we may have to switch over to the Owendo here. It didn't do us any good in the Lacania United match, the last live com that you guys saw. But, I mean, we have to get a result here. We really need a win. Even a draw wouldn't do. We'd still be bottom of the table by quite a distance. As a consequence of losing 4-0 to Tofaga, our goal difference is awful, and goal difference is the top tiebreaker in Tuvalu. So we have to find a way back into this game. That was close from Tui. The closest he's been, at least. Overall finishing has still been pretty meh here. Aliu, thought that was going to be on target, but it's flown over. Aliu's been particularly poor in the last few games, and I did have a little chat with him. I gave him an official warning, and luckily he accepted it. Assistant thinks we should try a more passing play, which seems pointless because we're already kind of doing that. We're halftime, 1-0 down, and I'm a little bit at a loss as to what to do. We probably ought to switch over to the Owendo. Let's do it. There's no point in waiting till halfway through the second half when, things are out of reach. We've got to act now. Let's move Tui over here to defensive forward. That'll do up front at the very least. Aliu's picked up a yellow. We could bring on Co, but Stanley has been, in my estimation, particularly horrible. And I think he needs to come off. Let's bring on Co. Co's been pretty unimpressive in the A division thus far, but he did score a goal and put on some good performances in the preseason friendlies. And if he's looking for an opportunity to show that kind of form in the A division this season, this is it. This is his chance to do it. Okay, let's select a pep talk here. So once again, my assistant suggesting the blow dryer treatment, as was the case against Tofaga. I think we were 3-0 down at halftime in that one. I don't want to keep giving them the same talk though, because they're going to say that it's getting repetitive. And in addition, you don't want to yell at your players too much because their morale will just drop too much, and then the whole point of giving a team talk is wasted. You know what? Let's tell them to go out there and play without pressure. I like that idea because sometimes the players, it's good for them to know that I'll be backing them no matter what. All right, let's give them the obligatory I have faith individual talk here. This is probably going to be a catastrophe that we're probably going to get countered against because we're sending more people forward. But I really do feel like we have to fix this. We stuck with the Tengako all match against Tofaga. Things never got better, and we need to do something different here against Luamotu. Looks like they have the opening highlight here. I believe this was from kickoff, so maybe this won't come to anything. Having trouble taking the ball off their feet. Team Iwani. Not our Team Iwani, I believe. Not the one that we released on a free. CO cuts that out. It's the first touch of the ball we've had since the first half. Aliu has won that tackle. Well done. Moeaga, can he do something here? Lapayo. This is a very long highlight. Maybe there will be a chance from this. Nope. Lapayo loses possession, and we'll probably go until the 60th minute or so before there's another highlight. It's just how this has been. How this save has been for the last few episodes. The start to this season has been really, really horrendous. And I don't have the faintest idea what's wrong, to be honest. We have the same team by and large. I mean, Moeaga and Tui, I think, just both turned 30, so getting a little bit on the older side. And perhaps that's something that needs to be addressed long term. Moeaga brings that long ball down. And he's been dispossessed easily. Tini Lau in the middle for Luamotu, and they'll control possession once again. We've been worse in the second half, I think, if that's even possible. Pearson, Fakasega, he'll find Lapayo. Fakasega, that's an optimistic ball for Samaya Moeaga. That will not find anyone. We have luckily retained possession. Fakasega, Moeaga. Stripped of possession. Tapugao Jr., Fakasega, Pearson. Moeaga, decent chance. It was from the top of the box, a ways out, misses the post in the end. I'm being strongly reminded at the moment of the sort of ending days of that Galatasaray save at the moment, guys. Just no idea what's going wrong, losing every match or close to every match. Lapayo skies it. And just being sort of so frustrated that I can't figure out how to fix it, especially because last season ended brilliantly. I mean, we were fantastic. We have to make our second change here. And surely we'll have to bring a striker on. Tui's been pretty unimpressive thus far. Probably it's worth bringing on somebody who can play in the defensive forward role. Who's better at it? Feoto? No, I think we should be looking to bring on Tologo, actually. Tologo. Nice big green circle as a defensive forward. So your time has come, young man. I think this may be his A-Division debut. So it's time for you to come on and do something. If you can't do it, nobody can, because the rest of our team has been a pile of dog shit today. Let's just tell him not to be too stressed out. Pressure's off. Oh, good. He looks relaxed, maybe overly so. Fantastic. He can set himself up a deck chair and just make himself a drink because he's so relaxed while we're losing to Luamotu and watching our season drift away. Tologo misses. I do hope that my extraordinarily positive attitude is finding its way to the players at the moment. All right. What are we looking at here? Could bring Ale on. It would be his debut. His match sharpness is pretty horrible, though, and there's no attacking midfielder in this formation. I guess we'll go with Feoto, maybe. Bring him on for Moeaga, who's missed at every opportunity. Seems like the best option. We do have a little bit of fixture congestion coming up. Would I rather rest Moeaga for 12 minutes or rest Tui? I don't know. Whatever. Just a wild guess. Feoto is better equipped to do the poacher role, so we'll give him that. It looks like we are going to be looking at a horrific start to this A Division season. 0 points from a possible 9. Yep. I really don't have any answers, unfortunately. Lapayo, Fakasega, driving towards goal. Pearson, Tologo, terrible. Son, you can go pick that ball up yourself and carry it all the way out of the Tuvalu Sports Ground, because that was atrocious. Aliu will have another chance to whip that in. Tologo had a chance to head it, and that is a miss. Not sure who that was. Was that CO? I didn't see who that was. You guys can rewind it and see who missed that opportunity. But I don't recommend doing that because it was kind of terrible, no matter how you look at it. Looks like Luamotu could have another highlight. Will this be a 2-0 defeat? Tito Tui launches it long, and of course, not sure who that was. Was that Feoto? Whoever it was didn't go to get the ball, and they managed to get a shot on target. Tapase saves it. That's the sort of movement that does usually cut us open, those crosses coming in. That nearly goes in from Lima Lofa. Tologo. Aliu. Fakasega. Needs to cut inside, doesn't. And we'll go back to Tofaga Jr. Finds CO. That's an okay ball. CO. Feoto. Should have scored, but it's saved. That was our chance to save at least a point, and it looks like that is going to come to nothing unless Luamotu counterattack and double their advantage. As I mentioned at the start of this match, guys, I did recognize that there was a real chance Luamotu would defeat us today. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to show this as an episode, to see if we could meet the challenge, get some of the good live comm juju going. But it looks like it's just going to be more of the same disastrous play from Hell's Teeth. Whipped optimistically in by CO. Fakasega may have one more chance at this, but look at that terrible work rate. Get up off your butt and run, you piece of shit. Pearson. Fakasega. Lapayo finds Tologo. He's too far out to shoot. Does anyway and misses. And it's full time. 3 consecutive losses to start out the A Division season. And I don't know what's wrong, guys. I'd really love if folks would leave some comments. Just a troll would be good, you know. Just somebody coming forward, go, "Oh, you're out offside. You fucking suck at this game, dude." Like, I'll take that. And constructive suggestions would be even better. Well, good. At least the players have reacted well to me telling them that they were unlucky. Which they weren't. I think we were pretty horrible today, but I've given them the aggressive, you guys were awful team talk a little too many times, and it just, as I mentioned, I don't need to do it every single time. It's not going to help. So yeah, a 1-0 defeat to the Wolves today. They get their first result over us. It's deja vu, just like the Lacane United match, and we are bottom of the table, and I, as I have said a couple times, I have no idea how to fix this tailspin. Looks like this is not going to be our year for winning the title. We lost 4 matches total. Here, we can actually show this before the episode ends. We lost 4 matches total in the A Division last season, if it ever loads up. And we've already lost 3 this season. Definitely drew too many last year. I'm not saying last season was some sort of spectacular success. You know, we should have finished higher than just 3rd in retrospect. I think with the players that we had, with the way that we were playing near the end of the year, if we'd found that vein of form a little bit earlier in the season, we would have been, 2nd or even 1st. So I'm not saying it was perfect. We drew too many matches, but to have only lost 4, pretty good. And now looking back on it from the perspective that we are in now, having lost 3 to Luamotu Tofaga and Lucania United. We're in dreadful shape. Easily the worst goal difference in the A division, and we are very much on the outside looking in, even for a top half finish at this point. The Tuvaluan league season, it's only 22 matches long. It's much shorter than, for example, the Premier League or La Liga in Spain. So we are already a considerable ways into this season, and we're in big trouble here. Well, guys, wish I had some better news. This is the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and please come back for episode 10 of The Triumph.